I am ready to shit on someone's show this week. I cannot wait. Hey guys, I'm Dylan. I'm probably the one with the best anime opinions here. It's okay that the people around me probably disagree. They don't really know what they're talking about, but thank you for listening.
There we go. Who's next?
All right.
Dylan, just introduce yourself again.
All right, yeah, so I'm Dylan.
Still
Write
Dylan.
it down. Write it down, please. Please.
I mean, I'll go. I'm Sean. I'm also the person who came up with this brainchild of an idea.
Alright, my name is Elvis, Nice to meet you all.
Good.
I am a professional League player, actually.
I knew it.
My name's Alex, and I'm the one with actually the best anime opinions here.
Nathan.
I'm the other half who came up with this idea.
Finally, Michael.
The man, the myth, the legend, Michael, coming in. Obviously the one with the best taste here. I don't know what anyone else is
All
talking
right.
about.
All right.
It's not
That's
real.
true. Not in disagreement with you on that. So as a quick catch up, last week was our first discussion week, and I wish I could say unanimously, but it was not unanimous somehow. However, we did remove Plunderer last week. Did
Yeah.
anyone
Really
wind up
not?
watching the next episode of it?
No, why would I?
Yep, so as far as I'm concerned, that means we did not make a mistake, as none of us felt compelled to watch it this week.
I want to watch it, but
I know,
like
so
I
do
didn't have
I,
time.
but we didn't. So let's get this started. Let's get this week's discussion. Do we want to just do it the same way we did last week, where the person who picked the show begins the discussion? I don't think we have to do like a defense of the show anymore. I think we just have to talk the show. Like last week, we did a lot of like, I'm defending my show, and then we discussed it. We can just probably discuss it, is what I think. I don't think we have to necessarily defend every single show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the person who picked the show should
Start the
talk first
discussion.
then. Yeah.
Elvis, you get to kick us off with Darwin's game.
That is the start.
Yeah, this week, I actually was pretty happy with the episode compared to last week. I think it was a bit better, Our character seems to be actually getting Giga Brain, which is pretty interesting out of nowhere with this scene that we had of a blacksmith. But, we'll see where that goes, I suppose.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
The florist is the same voice actor as Dio. That's just a fact.
All right,
I realized
so
it right
it's a-
away.
So it's a better
Really?
show.
No,
All
it's
right.
it's good. It's good. Yeah, no, I really liked it. It just made me laugh. I like the florist as a character. I think he's super interesting as like a villain slash ally now. My only problem with it is that it's annoying how it seems like the main character is so there's no like he has to befriend everyone, which is fine, okay, but like it comes to a point where it's just you can't just turn every villain by pointing a gun at them and being, "Hey, let's be good." You know what I mean?
Dylan, I will legitimately be upset if they do these clan fights and he winds up befriending Wong.
I think Wong is the one where, like, you kind of just like, okay, he's not like that guy seems like the more bad character, quote unquote. Like he's the one where it's like he's gonna be a bigger deal.
He's probably going to be like our big villain, other than the creators of the game probably. Need to
Yeah,
know.
Yeah,
like he's gonna be fun.
I imagine that's end goal.
Like I didn't think this episode was bad. It was fine.
No, it was a good episode. I was just it
Oh, yeah.
would be unfortunate if the next one happened the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Yeah, if the
wanna see
next one is
different
exactly the
things.
same with like, your main character befriending everyone, just like he has done with the last two villains.
My biggest problem with this episode isn't even like the befriending the enemy thing. 'Cause I mean, like I'm fine with that right now. As long as it has a clear reason in the show, I think it's good, and it does right now. I just don't like the ending of the florist fight. I don't
Why?
know. It feels very anticlimactic and not satisfying. It's again one of those things in my mind where it's like, well, what? Like we don't get a clear view. Why didn't he finish through with the punch? And Kaname didn't even really do anything in retaliation. It was just, he got tired. It's another one of those things for me where I'm like, Kaname's not winning ever
He's
in my mind.
lucky.
He's getting lucky and out of every situation. He's smart.
I
He
interpret
should
that a
be
bit
smart.
differently, honestly.
Yeah.
I think what happened is him creating those bullets, right, was forcing the florist to use his vigil constantly. So basically he was just being bombarded so hard that he just, Like he couldn't move, and when he finally decided to make a move, it was already too late. Like he was never like really there to begin with.
I think you're right. I think just to me, it doesn't. I feel like there could have been a better way to have done the ending of this battle to not to make it feel more satisfying. To me, this battle didn't feel satisfying as an end.
Yeah, it was
But-
pretty like though so far the whole thing and like getting him cornered and stuff like that was like a pretty great start to it, but to end off in like a cornered scene, I could see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah,
My,
it's
my whole hypothesis with the whole not go through with the punch was, as we saw, he had the hallucinogenic plants, and that maybe by using his sigil as much as he wasn't exactly being accurate with it, and then accidentally made the wrong type of plant for one portion, and accidentally caught himself in a hallucination. And he was like,
Sure.
"Yeah, I'm punching him,"
That's a very interesting way to think about it.
I agree.
because the hallucinogenic plants were a really big part of the episode before this,
That's true.
and have been a big part still.
Overall, though, I like this episode. It didn't do at all how I thought the Florist arc was gonna go, so I'm very
Yeah.
happy. The fact that Shuka wasn't even, we didn't even see her this episode, I think.
Yeah, we
Which
did.
I like a lot. A lot because I don't like Shuka, but because I don't think she was needed to be here. So I like the work. I like the teamwork between him and Analyst. I thought it was good.
Can we
She
talk
didn't
about
bail him
how
out.
broken
Lopless
that
is
one
the-
chick's thing is, though?
Oh, what Laplace's
Oh.
demon?
Lopless?
That's literally Zoarudo.
No,
It's so
it's
broken.
Lopless's demon.
It's
No,
like
she
it's
has
like real time
Epitaph, not
Zoarudo.
the
No, it is.
active.
It literally is.
It's not the well. It's actually Epitaph. If you get to part 5.
It's kind of nuts.
Oh no, it's busted as fuck. Epitaph is busted as fuck.
It's insane. Like I don't understand how she's like not the most broken character. I guess because she just wants to like run away and stuff. That's fine. But like, dude, if I had that power, bro, I'd be at top of fucking leaderboards with that shit. I'm just saying.
Because there are some powers where it doesn't fucking matter what you do.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what we're gonna run into. Alex,
Mhm.
how you haven't said anything yet about the show.
I mean, my opinions for this week aren't very strong. Like, I feel like every show just did what was kind of expected of them.
Hang on, I think I have a note sheet somewhere that I do not have open up at the
I
moment.
cannot wait to hear your thoughts on a certain show that which I firmly believe did not do anything in the realm of expected.
Cool.
Elvis brought it up, we didn't really talk about it. I do also like the blacksmith idea, and that's not just him copying, it is him making copies of the things he comes in contact.
I mean, isn't that really like the same thing? Isn't that kind of the same?
Well, the idea is that he's able to
Well,
customize
So
them. Is the
I
whole
like
gimmick.
the idea
Oh
that
dang,
like
dude! I customized my black
Blue
pennants that have
ink.
blue ink.
I like the idea that like what Shuka said way before, the whole idea of like your sigil is something you just know naturally, like and like whatever it is, you just know it inside and out. So the idea of him knowing a weapon inside of out and being able to make adjustments to like really essentially do whatever he wanted with the weapon to make it stronger like he did, I think that whole like idea is really cool.
You reminded me of my singular thought I had during the entirety of the Darwin's Game episode, which is when he modifies the gun, he gives it a belt-fed magazine, but then it still also has a drum magazine on it, which doesn't
We
make
don't
any sense.
we don't expect him to understand how guns work. It just
Well,
looks kind of cool.
I guess I expect the designers of the
just-
show to know how guns work, but Pepe hands. I guess that's how it goes.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's pretty funny.
This episode did a good job exploring sigils more, and I liked it.
Yes.
Darwin's Game has like a singular cool thing that can separate it from a bunch of shows that are slightly similar, and the sigils are kind of the thing. So I'm glad we're seeing that fleshed out.
All right. I
Okay,
think we're
are we
confident on that. Yeah.
Because I'm so excited for this next discussion.
What's the next one?
Dora?
Dylan.
Is it me? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Doro,
Alright.
Doro.
All right. Listen, now, if after watching episode 1, if you haven't already decided that Dorohedoro is the best show here, by episode 3, it's pretty confirmed. I'm just saying. Listen, episode 3. Well, episode 2, first off, introduced our villains, right? Our villains are fucking badass. I didn't think that person was a chick at first, but when I found out it made sense, and it was so fucking cool how broken she is. And things I liked in episode 3, really, because episode 2 is more of like a setup, in my opinion. Bro, that fight scene, best fight scene we've had ever. Coolest fight scene guaranteed. The fact that the Kaiman and Nikaido got their shit kicked in and then got out still was pretty cool. Maybe a little bit plot armor, you could argue. I'd still argue. I watched the fight 3 times over because it was so cool. Let's see. This idea of there's just so much like mystery that we don't know. Also, the Night of Dead thing was pretty cool. Just killing zombies for money. I'm with it. You know what I mean? I just really liked the episode as its entirety, like 2 and 3. I felt like they really meshed together really well, and I can't wait for episode 4. But I don't want to keep talking. So what do you guys want to say about it?
I
You
think
know what?
Sean
I
should
agree with
start this.
Dylan a little bit.
Let
let's-
Nathan
let's-
start. Let Nathan go.
Yeah, let Nathan go.
Honestly, the biggest gripe I have about the show is like 30 frames that has like it doesn't feel very good to watch.
do
The
you mean?
CGI makes the characters move a little bit like more choppy than a standard, anime, and it's kind of hard to watch in that sense. But honestly, the story is interesting. I'm enjoying the characters. I think it's so fucking cool that like now we have something a little bit more like she's a sorcerer. We didn't know that before. There's a lot of mystery that's coming out now, and it's like it just makes me want to keep watching the show.
I will disagree and agree with you, Nathan. I disagree on the animation. I think the show works with the CGI well. Sorry, Alex. I know. I'll let you.
This show is dog.
Honestly,
It's not that the
Go
CGI
ahead,
is
Kyle.
bad. It's that
No, it's bad.
like. Okay, Alex.
No, I think the
it's-
CGI is used well. Like I don't notice it being like the way you describe it to me. Like I feel like it fits naturally with the show, in my opinion.
I think
It just
what
feels
the
like the
CGI
characters' movements are
does
a little choppy and the
in
frames
in
are.
s- in scenes where they're just like standing still or whatever, yeah, it kind of like is ass. But I think the CGI really, really, really shined in those fight scenes where we could see the battlefield having like an actual sense of depth within it, and like them walking towards each other actually kind of felt right instead of just like, oh, their characters, one character's getting larger while the other one's getting smaller as they kind of walk towards each other, right? Like there was an actual like battlefield kind of laid out.
So Dorohedoro is the only show we watched 2 episodes of this week because
Mhm.
3 actually was out and we could watch it, and now it's caught back up with everything else. If we did not watch episode 3 this week, I would not have liked the show as strongly as I do, because to
Really?
me, episode 2, I agree. A lot of this past week was setups, and so like a lot of the shows, I feel like if they already have proved something, it just they were fine. If they hadn't, they had things to prove, and whether they could do it in a setup episode is complicated. Dorohedoro was like episode 2 for me. The pacing of it was very off, and I did not like it. And the cuts from scenes to scenes could be jarring. And my biggest problem, I think, was highlighted in episode 3. In that episode 3 showed me that certain scenes are depicted to be happening at the same time, but they aren't. And because if you asked me at the end of episode 2, I would expect episode 3 to immediately open with the fight in that club. But that's not how things are happening in the show. While they're at the club, different things are going on for the bad guys. So when we
Yeah.
opened into episode 3 and they then went back and patched up Ebisu, which I was glad to see that, because that was a thing they talked about all of episode 2 and then didn't show us.
Mhm.
Like episode 3 showed me that okay, things aren't happening on the same timeline, and that wasn't clear to me until episode 3. Otherwise, like everything Nathan said, I completely agree with. Nikaido being a sorcerer is a really cool reveal that, in my opinion,
Mhm.
continues to build her as, like, not that Kaiman isn't interesting, but Nikaido just is unexpectedly interesting in my mind. So, I like the show still a lot. It's just not it didn't do nearly as well this week because episode 2 did not feel as strong, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I would argue that what currently I think what makes Dorohedoro actually stand above most of the shows, probably all of them in my opinion, is that the villains themselves are actually interesting and likable. In terms of like, I want to see the villains mess shit up, even the main characters. Like, I want to see them fight every episode at this point.
yeah,
Like, they are cool.
They're
Yeah.
really cool. I like them
Yeah,
a
I will
lot.
agree. Yeah. I'll
Also-
agree. En and Noi are possibly the greatest villains this
Yeah.
season.
Their designs
that-
outside
Oh well,
of
it's
combat
Shin
are
and Noi.
also
It's
really
Shin and
good.
Noi.
Shin and
En is
Oh.
the leader of the sorcerers. Yeah, no, you're
yeah.
right. You're fine. You're fine.
En is a pretty alright villain too. But
He's
That's-
cool. Yeah.
I like the whole mushroom
almost
gimmick and the fact that he
Yeah.
likes mushrooms.
Alex.
What's
That
about?
statement means nothing.
What?
This is one of the best villains we have.
What do you mean?
Like,
Well, I guess they're
there,
kind of
there's only really one other show with actual villains we know by name. The rest of these shows are situational villains, not character villains. So saying that these are some of the best character villains we have, yeah, there's only one other show, and it's Pet, and we all say pets suck anyway.
Well, hold on. No. What I mean is that like the villains actually we can understand that are long standing. They're not just gonna get flopped over one like episode like Darwin's game.
Well, yeah, that's because that's the point.
Well, yeah, but I think what Dylan's
The
saying
the
is it's
the
doing
point
it well.
the point of the villains in other shows isn't to be a character. It's to be an idea.
I would argue if the villains aren't good in a show, then the main characters really have nothing to fight against. What I
Like,
could
they
argue that
should be
Wait. That's a shitty point.
how?
What?
Wait, how?
Wait, are you gonna say that if there's no villain, if there's no direct antagonist, then the story cannot
No,
develop
no, no,
a
no,
good
no,
hero?
no. I agree with your terms of the idea of a villain. The ideas can be different, but like the idea that the villains can be beaten so easily is what makes some shows kind of lame, right?
I think there's a preference that you're both getting at, that you like. Different shows do different things. Dorohedoro has an outright outlined antagonistic force, and we're having, but in the same way,
That's a good way to word it.
Darwin's
Yeah.
game also, I would say, does have that. We just haven't seen it, because I would say the creators
Yeah.
are probably our overarching antagonistic force. And in that regard, I think you could compare Dorohedoro and Darwin's game in a way that these two in Dorohedoro could potentially have just shown up, gotten beaten, and we could have moved on to another set of sorcerers.
Mhm.
Whereas they aren't doing that, which is the style Darwin's game's taking. I think direct comparison isn't the best idea, since they can be used for different things in plot and in story structure.
Yeah, there's a show later we can directly compare Darwin's game to, but we're not at that show yet.
I just want
What are
to
your other-
clarify one of my points, though,
Yeah, sure.
when we're done with Alex.
I was gonna say, I want to hear Alex's
Yeah,
overall
I-
thoughts. I know
I
you
just-
don't like the animation.
I hate this show. I can't stand watching this show. Watching them fight makes me feel like all they did for the past 2 years was eat turkey, and they have that like sleepy condition, and that's why they move like they're lethargic. The I hate this show so much. The fights aren't interesting. The fights feel sluggish. Yeah, like you made the point, which is good.
Mhm.
Plot armor, yeah, that's definitely a thing. He got stabbed in the neck, literally decapitated. He's alive. We don't know why. I'm sure they're gonna explain why, but I don't care. Do I have anything else for this god awful show? No, it looks ugly. It's not fun. Like, the only character I even remotely care about in this show is Nikaido, and that's because what she has like some semblance of some, why is she like this? What is her motivation? I know what whatever his name is motivation is, and I
Damn it.
don't care. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Nathan.
The one point I want to clarify is that, like, to me, just the characters in general moving feels like the frames are really low.
Okay.
It's not smooth. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the CGI is good. It does it well. But even anything between, like, literally anything between them standing still to them doing like this huge big fight is literally like just a low frame rate.
Okay. Elvis even talked a lot.
Not that it's bad at all.
I think the show is actually like pretty good. I really liked this. I liked episode 3. I think episode 2 was a little bit slower, but I really didn't mind it too much, just knowing the direction it was gonna go in. Like, I think episode 3 was really cool. I think Nikaido being, showing that she is a sorcerer is like ultra interesting. Like, I don't know. To me, the show is just interesting enough where like
Mhm.
I don't have a reason to not like want to watch it. Like the ideas are pretty good. I don't think it's the greatest looking show. Like obviously, like that's what like the biggest thing. The CGI is kind of like eh. I don't think it's great, but I definitely don't think it's terrible. I think there's a show that looks actually worse this season than it. So
Okay.
That's a hard sell.
I mean, yeah, no, it's no Land of the Lustrous, but
Yeah. Are we good to move on?
I mean,
yeah.
I'll say the show is fine. I think episode 3 was pretty good. Episode 2 was all right. Ebisu's tit being out for half the episode was amusing for the first 20 seconds he was out. For the next 10 minutes, it kind of just got
I think-
boring. It was kind of
Yeah.
like, it was like, oh yeah, it's like, haha, no, he made a comment about it. And then it wasn't fixed. I don't know. It
I
was
mean,
kinda-
To me, that's
fair,
funny
though.
though.
The
To be
Ebisu-
fair, I think they like it's not like they put like a
there weren't
fan
any nip.
service.
There were no nip.
my at
well,
least-
yeah, like it's not like they paid attention to it. Like they didn't give it any more mind. Like yeah, it was there, but it's not like they drew any attention to it or anything. So I didn't really see an issue with like
Mhm.
the
like, it
other
was just a
thing-
part of the show that's like
It
kind
was
of
just
like,
a
like,
funny-
whatever.
It was a funny gag that they never got rid of, and I think that's still funny. Like, the
other
show is
thing.
definitely funny. I enjoy the humor in the show.
The other thing for me is that they set Ebisu up to be a very important character, and then she's
She's done-
continually being
done
used as
nothing
the
so far.
gag. So I'm like, if that's what it is, and she is just the gag, you know what? Great. It's just gonna be disappointing that you have a character who's supposed to have some importance, and we still don't know what it is.
Sure, I would say that that's unlikely. I think she's gonna be relevant soon.
hope
I just
so.
I think episode 2 and 3 was more of highlighting Shin and Noi
Yeah.
though.
I hope.
Yeah,
Again,
and
That's just my
I think the
opinion.
other idea was like I didn't really, at least me personally, I didn't know what was going on at first, and then they like mentioned the fact that like she didn't have her memory or anything.
yeah, but it was supposed to come back
So,
and she
like-
turns into a zombie. But you know,
Yeah, exactly.
But she can
I
fix
mean,
that. Which is
Hopefully.
super cool. This Noi chick
Uh,
is super cool.
Yeah, she's funny. A lot of her lines are delivered very well.
I actually like her a lot.
I
as
like her a lot.
well.
Her and Kaido are similar, but different enough as well that like the connection they have in the fight is good. Like the noise in interest in the Kaidos is great. I enjoy that interaction. I think there's gonna very clearly be some parallels to draw between these two antagonists or two main characters. I'm gonna look forward to that.
And I mean, now that we know that she's a sorcerer, they know that she's a sorcerer. How is that going to affect the future? You know?
That's true.
I think Kaiman doesn't know.
Kaiman doesn't believe she's a sorcerer.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, that's
told
what it is.
he
Because
doesn't
the
believe it.
doctor saw.
Yeah, he laughed
I thought that she was going to tell him at the end there, but she was started talking about the body bag or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she never actually like told him. So
Well, I mean, she told him she was a cleaner.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't think that means you're a sorcerer. They haven't
That
really
doesn't-
explained that yet, and I think
That's
the
fair, but
implication is doesn't
but they do-
mean you are.
Yeah, because they do. I think Shin and Noi are cleaners.
Yeah, I think it can overlap is the thing.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's the same
Hmm.
terminology, but
Different thing.
different
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Do we want to move on, Michael?
Sure.
Take
Yeah, I
up.
guess we can move on.
Which
You're
one's
up.
this one?
And here we have keep your hands off Eizouken. So this show actually had the best fight scene of this entire week, but
I would.
Y'all don't
agree
want
on
to talk
that,
about
but
that.
I don't know. I just
Fucking
rewatched it. That
fighting
scene is
now.
fucking fantastic.
It's good. I don't know if I'd call it the best fight scene.
I don't know what other fight scenes you're comparing it to. Characters punching each other 3 whole times in Dorohedoro, or Darwin's game where a character shoots someone.
I like the Dorohedoro.
Wait, let him
fight.
finish. Let him finish. Let me finish.
That's
Let him
fair,
finish.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This episode was the same. It was the same as it's been. Finally leading up to something with them showing off the anime, and I really like how right after it finishes, the two of them on stage go, "Yeah, this was garbage. What the fuck? This is the worst thing I've ever made." But the entire crowd's like, "This is crazy. What the fuck am I watching?" I don't know. I thought it was a good episode.
See, I like this episode for something that you didn't even mention, and it's Kanamori. I really like Kanamori this episode because like they've portrayed her as the character who only cares about money and the budget. And this episode we get to see that like yeah, she is focused on the budget, but she cares enough about their passions to be pushing them in the right way to agree to do things that they wouldn't normally do to get the club to get the budget. And then at the end of the preview, she's also critiquing it with them, and she seems
Yeah.
to really have taken an interest in the animating and the actual artistic work that they're all doing. And I like that a lot, considering she was probably the character I liked the least out of the 3 of them.
Well, yeah, I think they're supposed to.
Yeah, but I'm
there
glad
was-
they gave me things to like about her this episode.
There's an interesting thing with me when I was watching it, when they're all both animating, and she's like, "Oh, you guys are running out of time." When she then sat down at the desk and pulled out papers, I fully expected her to start fucking drawing. I know she can't draw, but my brain was like, "She's gonna start drawing. I want it."
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see why you'd think that.
It was just one of those things. 'Cause it was right up to them because it was right as she got back from the art club,
Yeah.
Well, I
and
think
she
that was
looked,
a lie.
she looked like she probably did actually go talk to the art club, and the art club was just being bitches about it.
Here's
I
why
think they would have shown that though.
Here's why I think it's a lie is because she comes back and they agree and Mizusaki agrees to do like the computer animating instead of hand draw, and she's like everything's set up for you in the PC room. So in my mind, she went to go set everything up in the PC room and look into it because she knew they were going to break and come to her and agree to do it because she was planning that. Like that's how this episode felt to me, was that everything Kanamori did, she eventually expected the 2 of them to come around to her ideas, because it's a style of persuasion that works, because you're not telling them they can't do what they want, you're telling them we have to do this and leaving room for compromise, so they will compromise. I like this episode a lot.
It was a good episode. I understand that they were working on this project and this one like anime show, and then but then we have to see it again, but it's in entirety this time. Like we kind of like got like clips of it this time. You can say that they kind of like just like kind of reused some stuff, which was yeah. But I mean, I did like to see the finished product, even though they were shitting on it. I wish that they would have added like I don't know. It felt like the ending was a little rushed, just a teeny bit. Like it was just like the animation ended and then it just went to like a thing of them getting stamped approved. Like there was no like I was expecting some kind of like shock from like the audience or the panel. I don't know. I just felt like there should have been a little more there, but I thought it was really good overall. Does anyone like? Do you guys agree with what I was saying there? Like,
I felt
I
the
think
audience was
I
fine.
know what you mean.
Did you miss an entire minute of that episode?
well, no, like at the very end, like there's no like, it doesn't feel like they won. Like they pan to the panel,
Yeah, it
and
is
then
weird.
they look at them shitting on their
Stamp
show,
it.
right? And then they just stamp it, and it's
You
like,
guys remember
okay,
back when it goes the 15-second thing where it shows the audience all talking about how great it was?
yeah, but I already said past the audience, like the panel itself.
Oh.
The
Like,
panel
obviously,
definitely
The
should have
panel
been
makes the decision,
commented
not
more.
the yeah. I just wish I would have saw a little more input after, because I really wanted to like. I wanted them to like show it to him. You know what I mean? I wanted them to like be like, yeah, look at what we did. You know what I mean? And like, because the panel was seen as like an obstacle to jump over, right? Like they had to get past the panel. Like even the school board, like those teachers or whatever, were scared of the fucking panel. Whatever. But like, I don't know. I just wish I would have saw a little bit of like, we fucking told you so, basically. I don't know.
I think it's a fair critique.
Right?
I,
Yeah.
I think the whole reason, the idea is that because the entire room goes quiet, they shut the panel up with what they did.
Yeah, but
The
some of
panel was
those.
like being assholes before that, and they just didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I do feel like
I
some
wish
of
it was
those
a teeny bit
characters-
more.
I feel like some of the characters on
Understandable.
that panel are characterized in a way where you would think at least one of them would have said something or made a comment at least in respect.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one character from the panel gives me the idea of, like, she's very, how
The
do
one
I
who like
word
goes
it?
back and forth with Kanamori, but not like
Yeah,
antagonizing,
yeah,
but like
yeah. Like, she
understanding
seems like
what
to have a
Kanamori's
strong
doing.
mental fortitude in terms
Yeah.
of, like, like, if the whole idea is the audience shut them up, like, she wouldn't let that happen type of deal. Like, she wouldn't
Yeah.
take that. You know what I mean? She would actually look to say something.
Yeah.
Or, just like something along the lines of that,
It
pretty
is weird
much.
to just get no final comment and just get the
Yeah.
stamp. But
That-
that's a small critique in what I think is overall a good
Exactly.
episode, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. It just felt like it felt like we won, but like we didn't win as much as like we wanted. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Other thoughts from the rest of the group? Alex, you really liked this show last week.
I still think Eizouken is really good. I think if you're missing the fact that the way that they produce their anime is an analog for many of the critiques of the anime industry as it currently exists, then I think you're missing a big point of the show.
Mhm.
Or at least I think you're missing a lot of the possible value of the show. But I'm pretty decided on a couple of these shows. Like if you don't like what they're doing or you don't like the premise, then you're not going to like them pretty much no matter what they do. And I think the fact that we look at these characters and we critique, like, well, I don't know if this personality type would have reacted to this situation in this specific way, is
Yeah.
like, it's strange to me. Like, that's the level of discussion for some shows. And then for other shows, it's like, yeah, but he stabbed him, XD.
Elvis, I know you. Well, in that regard, Elvis, you were this show's biggest critique last week. You voted it on. You wanted it on.
I
What are
like
your thoughts?
so I think this episode was the best out of it. I still don't think the show is great whatsoever, and I think this show actually looks the worst this season out of any other show. Like I don't enjoy the way the show looks or like the vibe it gives like really at all. But I don't with that being said, I do think this episode particularly was really good. Like I was like this one would be my favorite out of all. And I was like, all right, like they did some things and like it made that episode enjoyable for me particularly, but I don't know if the show itself is gonna stay interesting. It's like that little bit like, it was cool seeing their animation, but like basically my idea would be like, yeah, it's cool to see the progress they made, but like, all right, now I'm gonna like have to like watch another 3 episodes of them like what I ideally I would assume improving upon their writing skills, getting more time to do what they need to before I get to like see something else they do and like have all that in between, which is the part I don't like.
Okay. I mean, I thought it was well paced. If that's what you're saying.
No, I think he's about the
It's not that it's
future
not well
pacing.
paced. It's just the pace is fine, but for someone who doesn't like the show really to begin with,
Oh.
it's like I'm gonna have to go through that again, which is like kind of like whatever, I mean, it's
So
it's a me
you'd
problem.
prefer if the pacing like kind of switched up a little bit and not become like too repetitive?
The show's just not doing what he wants. Not
Well,
doing something he likes.
Yeah, I mean that's also a good point though. Like I do feel like the only way I really see the show going is like okay, like they now they have their budget, so now they're gonna be able to do more bigger things, which like is not crazy cool to me. Like, yeah, like, you know, their drawing's gonna get better. They're gonna be able to do more. They're achieving their goals, but like to me, that's not really a big deal. I'm like kind of like as someone who's not interested in it, it doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. Like, I don't care for them pretty much as characters. So it's like, well, what do I care really that they got their budget? Like, it was just cool seeing what they did and like some of the ideas is the way I took it.
Any other thoughts? I know we haven't heard from Nathan yet.
Well, I like what the show is doing, and like I think obviously like watching them be like, oh wow, they made this without a budget, and then immediately going into the stamp. I would have liked to see a little bit more banter between Kanamori and the board, and I agree it was sort of anticlimactic, but overall I just like this show. And obviously like I want to bring up a point. You know how their anime is a little like rough, low on frames or whatever because they're making it and it's supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
That's how Dorohedoro looks all the time, where it's a little low on the frame rate, and it feels sort of choppy and jarring at moments.
Maybe there is something to say about the budget that Dorohedoro has, and it's an overarching comment on the anime industry, as Alex said, and maybe Dorohedoro is suffering at the cost
Or
of
maybe the
anime.
comment is that Dorohedoro is garbage and shouldn't have gotten a budget to begin with.
Alex, would you like to carry us into the next show? I believe you're up.
What's the next show?
I Hate Being in Pain. Defense
Okay,
Tale.
so last time we talked about how everyone, again, seemingly we have a high level of discourse for these particular shows about like, how is this going to affect the state of the game and the world in which my immersion exists? Okay, but to paraphrase a quote from another good show in response to all of those concerns, I don't believe it's a problem. Next show, please.
What should you quote it from?
That was Eizouken. That was like the last
Yeah.
minute, but
Oh yeah, that is.
Um,
Yeah.
it kind
don't
of sounded
believe
like you
that's a
missed it
problem.
though.
No,
Or how is that a problem or something like that?
see, I actually was not a big fan of this show this week. While like it does tackle the big thing we discussed last week, which was the overarching power balance in the show, and it does address that with the nerfs and the patches. This is a very big setup episode, and it's a little boring and bland of a setup episode. And, like that's where I'll end my comments on the show because there isn't a lot else for me to say here.
I just tried to think back to what happened this episode, and I remember them nerfing Devour, and that's all I remember, other than her getting a new
Did
shield.
they really nerf Devour though? Like, let's be
Oh,
honest.
Okay, so she
10
can only kill
times.
she can only kill 10 people instead of 100 something.
So you can only one shot 10 people.
Yeah, but like that's still very much nerfing you from being able to one shot 170 or so. I think it was.
I mean, I guess, but like as the game progresses, they're just gonna be playing against really good people, and using Devour against really strong characters is going to be kind of broken. And like, I'm not arguing it for the balance of the game again, but like my problem from the first time we talked about it was like, if she's just so broken that no one can deal with her, then what's really the point of keep watching these episodes? They're gonna feel the same a little bit. I do like her name's Sally, right? The other
Yeah.
character. I like her as a character, except for the build up to that deer boss. I thought it was Xerneas. I thought it looked really cool, but the build up to it was just a little. I don't know. Like, okay, she's afraid of ghosts. I don't think you need to tell me that for like 4 minutes, I think it was, and then for some reason your go-to reaction of being scared of something is to face fucking plant in your friend's crotch. Like, I don't know, right? It was a little heavy on some like weird awkward scenes. I was like, okay, why are they doing that? But I mean, whatever. I thought the scene where they had like that cosmic-y dinner or whatever that was weird. It didn't make sense, really. Like, why were they doing that? And I like, this is a genuine question. Like, what was the purpose of that?
I don't know.
I don't really. I mean, maybe it'll be.
Sally said that it was somewhere. It was a place that she wanted to show,
Sure.
like she wanted to go to. That's why
Yeah.
they were there.
Cool.
But like obviously, like there's no real,
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was a little out of place. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because it could have been because like they were leaving that area, so maybe they wanted to visit it like one time. Maybe.
No, that's
I don't know, it
exactly
just-
what it is. But it's like
Yeah.
this is a setup episode, and it sets things up, and some things don't carry forward to the story at all. And that's just one of those things. So it's probably just them going, "This is a cool thing we can do."
Yeah, and I'm seeing a little bit of like the One Punch Man like power rankings of like, oh, this person got 4th at that event. This person got 2nd. This person got 9th. It's like we're kind of like seeing some kind of gauging power rankings. I don't really know how it's gonna like pan out. Like, if people are just gonna stay the same power rank, are they gonna like move up and down? You know what I mean? Like, is it gonna be dynamic at all, or is like the people, if they're fourth best, they're always gonna be fourth best? You know what I mean? Like this event coming up, like if that dude who's number one obviously is gonna be number one again. Is she gonna be second this time? Is she gonna be third this time? Is she gonna be last this time? Like, is she just gonna stay third? I feel like if she stays at the same rank, it's kind of like really repetitive in that sense. Like, I wish that the power rankings would be dynamic, and I'm not critiquing it now because it obviously hasn't happened yet, but like it's something that I'm like looking out for.
I think this is a pretty straightforward episode. So if anyone has anything else for discussion,
I don't think it's
Um,
bad, but I don't think it's like good.
yeah, that's how I felt this week.
I think it was solid though. I think it's
I
definitely
have-
like mid tier.
I'm
Oh!
not sure. So is
Keep going.
Devour like just on that one shield? Because like she has a.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
She you put it
She
in
has
the
a-
shield
an-
was the big plot point.
Yeah.
so she has an insanely busted shield, and she builds a new one. Got it.
Well, because that one I think has more vitality into it,
Yep,
which
it's
is
gonna
what
be
she
a different steel.
wants.
It's gonna be a different shield, which is I think really cool for the sake of a show based on an MMO. The idea of changing.
She's gonna
equipment.
fucking dual wield shields now.
But
Wait, yeah, continue, please.
I mean, this show, this show's very, very meh for me, because it's like, I don't know. First of all, it's ripping a little bit off SAO.
It's
and,
gonna
like,
do that. It's a VR. I don't know. Continue.
Well, okay, yeah, but you just,
Continue.
it's called Sword Art Online, and the other one's called New World Online. Like,
So you're telling me that
The
New World
name.
Online is in any way related to Sword Art Online? How could you?
Continue though.
but it's like the name's ripping on SAO, the menu's ripping off SAO. It's like, really? And then we just get like more cliches on top of that.
I'd say the menu's completely different from SAOs.
Really? Because I would say it's pretty close. It's like I guess it's a hand-based gesture thing. You could argue that it's
I
a
would
lot
be real with you,
different.
Chief. I
but-
actually can't think of the last time I saw them open a menu, but that's me. I don't.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
the only time there's a menu thing is the fucking stat sheet,
But continue.
which looks nothing like an SAO menu.
I do like how we have like a boss fight every episode, though. I'm totally with that. I don't care if that gets a little repetitive because I think the bosses are all like unique in their own way. Did we see the super speed skill? Well, I mean, because it was supposed to be like a secret thing. Like, that's what I liked about it. Like the secret super speed skill. Like, I feel like it's cooler that you don't just get it from killing the boss, and instead you have to do something like.
I don't remember the
different.
order this episode went. Was the getting that skill before the Xerneas fight, as we're calling
No.
it? Are we sure?
Uh,
Because I thought they went to that area.
you know what? You're right. It is.
First,
I
then
think it is
cleared
before.
The floor, so I
It is
think her
before.
movement that we see in that fight is that skill being used.
That's
Which is
just
why
she uses
moves
it.
so fast.
Is it like a passive? Is that why?
I don't know. I do not have these answers.
'Cause I don't know.
Sean,
They
why
just
not?
they always like when they first used
Let
one
me
of the
go-
abilities. They always said like the name of it,
Let me
right?
go make a phone call back.
Paralyzing
Sean,
shell.
go read the light novel.
Do you
But,
actually not like this show?
No, this show's very meh. It's
Okay.
got to do something good.
Okay.
It does something's good, something's bad. Like the bad points are like, the two cliches in a row, the like easy ass convenient side quest for them.
So
Only
just out of
produces
curiosity,
one of that
does,
skill.
does everyone else feel the same way about the the cliches that they use? Because like to me, it does not bother me whatsoever. Like
I don't.
I found it funny in the moment. I mean,
Of,
It's-
of
Do we
anime
do we
cliches.
want to talk about cliches in every show?
It
Because
is-
if so, we're
That-
gonna have to go backwards, and I'm gonna have to run through the bullet list.
well,
I-
that's what I'm saying. Like I think
it,
all
it,
shows have cliches.
it
So like
did
to
not
just
make me go. I
like-
hate this show. The pacing and the lack of interesting things in a setup episode in this show particular is the thing that makes me not like it this week. It's still a fine show.
There is one point where it was like I don't even remember what was happening, but the animation like turned into a slideshow. Oh, it was her moving the rug and going down to the basement. I don't know why. That was just a very out of place thing.
I think it was just
the
like.
slideshow.
I think
Move
I
it
was trying
along, I guess.
make it
but-
sound a little ditzy and like that. Like she shouldn't have been scared of anything.
Well, no, it's like when she like moves the table and pulls.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
rug
no.
back.
I think it's because she was scared, ran, and then she's like, "What? You shouldn't have been scared of anything." And the joke was that it was just a simple move the rug. Like it was so
Are we-
simple.
Are we good on this show?
Yeah. I
wanna
like
keep-
it.
I just remember we still have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
some of these
there's
shows
another
have
thing I
more
hate
to
about this,
say.
and like
Go ahead.
it's actually two shows that this pollutes,
Uh-huh.
and it's the cute character, well, supposed to be cute character explains things a lot.
I don't
The
think
stupid thing that explains, and it's in CGI. Like I hate CGI. Dorohedoro is fine, but the CGI in this show's
okay,
dog.
I'm actually. Well, I want to address this point before we move on. I think this show is not the one we should be bringing this up in because it's a host of an event explaining an event, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like it's
that one.
this is arguably another cliche of mascot explains the rules to an event. It has to be done in the way they're
Fair.
structuring the story, whereas the other one takes you out of the show and will get there.
Yeah.
It will get there, Bear.
Oh, stop that.
I will
Come on.
persecute you.
Hey, we're not there yet.
I know.
Uh,
Foreshadowing.
If we want to move on, Nathan, you are up for id.
I just want to say one last thing,
Sure.
and that the soundtrack with the moonlight thing, or like Taste the Stars or whatever, Taste the Rainbow, whatever they decided to call it. Um, they had a very nice soundtrack with a very like rich viola in it, and I liked that. Very good sound. It was probably one of the best songs of like the season so far.
All right.
Do you want to
Very much hate science.
Do you want to continue with
Talk about id.
id invaded, Nathan? Give us a kickoff.
So there's a lot of layers, and I like that. There's a lot of layers like an onion. A lot of layers to unpack. You know, we see the perforator actually going into one of the wells now, which I think was very interesting. The fact that it's not only, you know, one of our main characters, we see a lot of touching moments in this, and it shows him to be human, like he's rescuing the one girl, and it's like when he's outside of the well, he doesn't know if he's human. However, when he's inside the well, he acts very much, you know, trying to save the girl, and like he literally just puts all his effort into saving that one girl, even though he doesn't really know it. Like he goes back into that well dozens of times and dies a lot, and we know that takes a lot out of him. We see that the perforator can't even last like any amount of time. He tried to do the one where the bomb maker or whatever. He tried to do that one, and he couldn't last as long at all.
I agree with everything you've said. I also appreciate that this week shows the dynamic between the detective team we have and Sakaido, and how they don't like him because he's a killer, but they want to root for him while he's inside the well because
Oh yeah, there was that.
it's a different like there's a really cool dynamic we're getting with the morality issue here of is it okay to root for a man and to want him to do well when you know he's also in their view a terrible person outside of the well. Like you're getting
Mhm.
this double look, and especially since the well seems to reflect the person he used to be is kind of what we've been getting.
Wait.
It's odd because we don't quite know yet, but to me I feel like the well, like who he is in the well is similar to the person he used to be before whatever happened.
I was actually gonna ask if, because the perforator goes into the well, and he says his name in the well is Anido, and the other person, the main character is Sakaido in the well, right?
Yes.
So like, and that's not their name.
You're
That's
correct.
not that. Both, that's neither of their names, but there's a similarity in like the structure of the name. Like, I don't really know. Like,
The well
there's the
does
same
something.
suffix. I think what it might be is that as Cairo is central to each well, the detective in there is also central to each well. So it's not a representation of the person, it's a representation of that character. That's why they're all dressed the same, like they have a scarf on, and they always say the same line of, I am
Yeah.
the brilliant detective, I have to find out why Cairo died. Like they both said the exact same thing, wore the exact same outfits. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I have a feeling that since Sakaido works better in the well, there might be a connection between who he used to be and the detective. Like, I agree with you. You're probably right. The actual well itself probably has these things in place that creates it. But I think with the way we are seeing Sakaido built, I could be wrong. I've been wrong on a couple of things already this season. That there's a good chance it's close enough to who he used to be, which is why this works so well. Is because who he is now is nowhere near who he acts like in the well. The other big thing for me, like I said, I think this show handles morality a lot better and a lot easier than other shows do. You can really get into that discussion of what's right and what's wrong easier with this show than Pet. And then also the ending of this episode is setting up for something very interesting. I'm gonna preface this now for the sake of the show. The female detective's like 23. I checked. her age. She's not like a high school student. So
What the fuck?
if this ends,
Lollipop?
if the episode, yes. So if this
Lollipop.
I had a theory, Dale, that some of the people in this call know. I'm not sure if that at the end of this episode was that dude kissing her or that dude lining up the hole in his head with the hole in her head.
What? Okay, I don't know about that. If that's what it is, that's fucking weird. I don't like that.
Agreed. But I'm interested to see what this is because this character has been around in other episodes. I remember seeing them in other episodes. So I am interested. I'm always interested by it.
Wasn't the person? Wait. What was that? What he said?
The end. The person
Yeah,
who
yeah,
she
yeah.
follows out. He's been around in other episodes. Like I've seen that character.
He was in the perforator's mind, wasn't
Yes,
he?
they show
Yeah.
that too. But I also feel like he's been at other crime scenes.
Oh,
Like,
I
I
was.
think if you-
He could have been. I wasn't watching for that. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't really want to go back and look, but you might
I'm
be
not
right.
gonna either, but that's what my brain is thinking. Either way, this is still my favorite show of the season. That's the music that plays this episode inside the well is so good. I love that
Yeah.
scene. This was a really strong week for it, in my opinion. I have nothing else to say about this show. It's just great.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
Thank you. I'm glad I picked it.
So are we moving on?
Did Ellis and Alex say what they wanted to say?
You guys want to throw anything in?
I mean, I generally agree. I think I
It's a good show. It's not much to say.
Yeah, like I agree with you guys talked already, and I agree. Like it's really good. The way it goes about the whole idea with the perforator going in, and like the way they're handling it, I think is very good. Makes it interesting.
Anything else? You just want to move on?
No, it's a good show.
Nathan, you're up again.
I'm up again.
Inspector.
Inspector. Listen, there's nothing as great as a good old fashioned cane lolly.
Okay, thoughts on the episode?
Thoughts on the episode, right. We got a pretty big time skip, just like in the middle of it.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
years or something
Yeah,
crazy
we
like
did.
that.
2 years.
Yeah, it's kind of
That
We'll talk. Let him do his thing.
Yeah,
her freshman year of college, I believe, because
Mhm.
their high school is only 3 years.
Yep.
I think she said she was. Oh no, it might put her as a senior. I'm not entirely sure.
No, I believe she's a freshman in college now,
yeah. I believe it's supposed to be the intent of
and I
it.
believe he's a senior now.
Yeah.
Please continue.
The cop is kind of fucking badass.
Mhm.
Like literally, like, she was scared of Kuro, whatever his name is, because she thought he was something else, and he's like, and she like saw the steel girder ghost or whatever it is, the steel beam ghost. Also badass, by the way.
Steel Lady
Right.
Kanase,
That's the one.
something like that.
And she's
Yeah.
scared, so she like almost wants to punch it in the face because she's so tired of running. Pretty badass. The fact that both of these the fact that she's here at all, and then she was Kuro's ex-girlfriend, and then now she's meeting his current girlfriend and stuff like that. And it's your standard typical Kane lolly. It's just it's very interesting to see like them coming together, and like maybe she becomes an actual like solid part of the show, and she's actually like helping solve these crimes and stuff now because she can actually see the yokai and stuff like that. Because before, it seems like the people can't see the spirits and stuff like that, and it's like this is starting to take like a really interesting turn, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. Although Kuro annoys the crap out of me, I gotta say. It's just something about him. His
We'll be
Motherfucker.
back. Taking a break.
Yep,
Fine,
we have
a
a fire alarm.
Other thoughts about Inspector Alex?
I mean, one thing I thought, and I don't want this to be used as a critique, it was something that irked me. It was something I found weird but didn't necessarily find bad, was the fact that, I don't know, I don't remember it being like this, but they made an almost strange amount of emphasis on the fact that Canlolly's kind of a perv.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I mean, like it's quirky, hee XD, but
We get a defloweration joke.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
she was
After a
like,
2-year time skip.
They put a
Oh,
2-year time skip.
shit.
Oh shit.
Defense of 2-year time skip. It does allow to flush out Saki's career as a detective, and also serve as a way to say the first 2 episodes was a background for the main cast, and now you can watch them as they've kind of adjusted to each other.
Yeah.
it
Honestly,
it
I
also gave
really
us the
don't
ability
mind
to
the
make the
time
deflower
skip.
joke.
Yeah.
It also
that,
made
yes,
us a reason for it to
too.
reasonably be in a relationship.
Yeah, because I mean they do kind of express the like You're not a college student yet. Now she is. Good for that chick.
Yeah.
I was talking with Michael.
Yeah.
Does she look older now?
I thought she
I
looked
don't
kind of
think
taller.
Yeah, I don't know. She looked. She
Older,
looked
I think
different.
so.
I
There was
don't think
something different.
I think she looked a bit different, but I wasn't sure if that was because of the time skip, honestly. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like there was a small difference. Like something was different, at least in
Like
my
if you
opinion.
like if you compare her from the first 2 episodes to the version of her in the ED, there's a very noticeable difference.
She also
She now looks
dressed
a
up.
lot close. She also looks even with like body proportions kind of thing. She now looks a lot closer
Body
to the
proportion.
design.
Yeah, I want to see them.
How she
together.
used to look fucking 2 feet tall. Now she's like 2.5 feet tall.
We have not seen Kuro yet, so
Ooh.
I do want to see how they match up because that will probably give us a good idea of if her character's been adjusted at all.
Yeah, maybe she's slightly taller now. She put on the taller prosthetic leg today.
I'll say the fight scene in this episode, pretty solid.
I actually really liked it. Yeah, I think honestly, this show went up a good amount for me because of this episode. Like I really liked this episode.
I already liked the show as is, so this didn't really change anything for
I
me.
liked it already, but like I
stayed
think
Sorry,
it's
Mac.
a lot. I think it's pretty good. Like I like it a lot actually.
We're just discussing a little bit of Inspector to keep it moving. Dylan, you had the biggest problem with this show. How is this week for you?
Okay, I liked part of this week. I didn't like the first like 10 minutes of it. I don't really. I mean, I personally just didn't like that snake arc mystery thing. I didn't really dig it. I thought it was really dumb at the end too, when she was basically saying like, "Oh yeah, I was just making it all up." Well, okay, like whatever. It feels wasted, but it feels like okay, she has a really quick thinking powers to persuade like these. Sorry, is the snake a ghost thing too?
The snake's a yokai, yes.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
spirits.
Yes, spirit / yokai.
Are spirits and ghosts the same thing?
It can be umbrella termed under some things. For the sake
Okay,
of it, just
But ghosts and yokai are technically 2 separate things, but we can be like
for
the
the sake
things
of
that are there.
discussion, let's just say
Yeah, well,
otherworldly beings.
I got
Yeah.
shit on a little bit of it last week, so I just want to make sure
Sorry,
I'm
no, you're
still
good.
Yeah,
being
no,
consistent
understand.
with it. So there was did anyone see that scene where the car like spun out? That was so
Yeah.
funny. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh my god, that made me laugh.
That's where I
That shit-
laughed.
That shit straight up Beybladed.
Beyblade.
But I really liked the last half of this with the character that I initially completely did not think it was that Saki chick. I did
Yeah.
not think that.
I
So I
looked
made a
to
connection
Michael.
instantly.
I looked to Michael, went, "Is that her?" And he goes, "Nah, her hair's not that color."
Because in the flashback that they show later, in all the flashback, the colors are dulled. She had brown looking hair, not black. My brain, yeah, no, she has brown hair. This character has black hair. They're 2 different characters.
I really like her as a character. I think if she's gonna be like
As do I.
around for a little bit, I think she's
This
gonna be
week.
like really like I'll give a shit about what she does, kind of like I feel like her drive to like figure out this mystery, this yokai, not ghost.
I think this is
okay.
technically a ghost, not a yokai. But
Fuck. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool like villain idea. You know, died to a steel beam, so she's got to kill everyone with steel beams. I mean, yeah. I mean, which is whatever. Like, I don't care. I think like her desire to instantly want to defeat it right away instead of just like over analyzing the situation or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I like her as a character. She's kind of like balls to the wall. Like, will do what she has to do. I mean, I feel like the end of that episode was literally just like, haha, by the way, I'm dating your ex.
This show is comedy. This show does have is meant to have a comedy tag on it.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
I
think
think
this
with
is
the
only gonna
way
get
she
more.
reacted, though, I think it shows like there's gonna be
The
you
face she
know.
makes when she gets punched, by the way.
Yeah, and I kind of just wish she got socked fucking harder, but like that was me. It's like who the fuck opens with that?
Yeah, but like I think her reaction is kind of like "fuck you," but
It's
like
supposed to be
not
funny, but like I
really.
kind of wish that they would like slap the shit out of her a little more. It's just like
I do think,
Like-
Dylan, a good thing is I think this 2-year time skip is kinda is a story reset in a way because the first 2 episodes serve as like a
Yeah.
background to our main
No,
character. So
yeah.
for you, this is
Mhm.
really good.
yeah. And
I
if you think
this
about
is
it,
actually
think
perfect.
about it. She legal now, so it's okay. It's all fine.
Yeah.
We're all fine. It's okay that they're dating now.
That's why it's okay to make a joke about her being deflowered.
But hey, man, sometimes the flowers just be missing.
I don't know. I think this week
I
was
like
really
this.
good
I
for
liked
the
it this
show,
week.
though.
I
think where
started
it's
to, once
going
I understood
making
it.
me enjoy it more.
I just didn't like the snake thing. I thought that was just I was
I
like,
also
whatever. It
I
wasn't
really
strong. It
liked
wasn't.
how they did a little more like background with like what exactly happened with the relationship between the two.
Yes,
Like,
I
we
was
got a
glad we got
little
to
more
see more of that
insight
too.
Mhm.
The
and
scene
like
where
kind
he
of
cuts
exactly
himself
what
on the
happened.
dishes and then his hand just fixes. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that would kind of fuck with me
Right back
too if I
together.
saw that.
Yeah.
So like, and then obviously the Kappa, like that scene again, and like what exactly was said and what happened was like really, it was just good like insight, and it's gonna be interesting because like I feel like them giving us that reminder is kind of like telling us like there's gonna be some kind of interaction between the two again. So I don't know, I like it a lot actually.
So overall, this is a good show. Great, solid for everyone so
It,
far.
I like it more now. Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't like that snake thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of like I felt like it got really out of hand with what she was saying. But
Yeah.
like it's something where like it's not that big of a deal to me. Like I could take that and just be like whatever and throw in the back of my head and still enjoy what was happening like later on in the show and still
Mhm.
see.
I'm excited to see where it goes from here, though.
Agreed. Are we good to move on?
Yes.
Okay, so this week, we're gonna be talking about Pet now. This week, I'm gonna tell you guys this. I'm voting off two shows. I'm voting off the show that I think was the worst this week, and I'm voting off the show that I think has been the worst overall so far.
Both
I
are
think
bad.
I think Pet is the worst show this week. On the on it's despite the fact that I still like Pet, I'm willing to look at it and go, this show might be asking for too much. It might be taking too long to set things up for everyone else. While I just don't think it stands up to everything else this week. I still think this week is a good episode for it. Overall, we see the establishment of their shop. What is the name of it?
Fish and
Fish
fish.
and Fish. Beautiful.
Fish or fish and fish.
Wonderful.
Fish
yeah, I
and
think it's
fish.
Fish
and
and
fish.
fish.
But...
Beautiful. I like the last week I mentioned that I felt like the two of them might both be like good people. Really, I no longer think that. I more think now. I really should have wrote these names down. I think the one who stays at the fish shop, I think he's actually a good person. I think the other
Really?
one is more. I think his problem, the one at the fish store, his biggest problem is he doesn't control his emotions well, and that causes his powers to kind of overflow, and there are repercussions. But this episode shows that he's able to acknowledge that he's overstepped things and then stop himself from doing anything else. The incident with the girl and her boyfriend, where he influences her to break
Yeah.
up with him, and then he's like, "Uh-oh, that was probably bad, and I'm not gonna let you buy that fish because it feels wrong that you're back here to buy
So,
something."
well, yeah, my bad. Keep going.
Mm.
Like
Sorry.
I like that aspect of seeing the character. I don't. I think the other main character we have is going to eventually be trying to get him back to working with him. But I'm also very curious to see where. I think conflict of this episode. I think it was fine. I don't really think to me, there's not a lot to look at. There is like one or two things that are still confusing about it overall in my brain. But I think the thing that shines to me in this episode is the ending, where they're discussing the car about the next case, and we're going back to Wind Spirit Man. I can't think of his name either. I want to say Hayashi, but I don't know if I'm right. The one,
Oh, it's
the guy we saw in episode 1 who uses the wind as his conduit to go inside people's minds.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think it's like Hayashi or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm interested to see next episode with him because there's an implication that it's going to be our one main character and what's his name, Michael? I'm always bad at it. Kagawashi?
Kitsuragi.
Kitsuragi, there we go. He says he wants it to be the two of them, and that makes me interesting because I still believe that they don't like Kitsuragi and that they think they just don't like him, and I feel like this could be an episode to potentially either get rid of Kitsuragi, and I think that'll be interesting to see. This show again has a lot going on in it, and I don't think it helps it. I think it hurts it more overall.
So this show this week, a lot of interesting stuff went through my head, and like that's the part I think is I personally like about the show is like it it doesn't tell you a lot, but like and you have to like obviously come up with your own ideas or like just try to have an insight on like all these different things that are going on. But to me, that's really enjoyable just being able to do that. Like I personally like doing that, and like I think this episode, there's just so much that like happened. Like first of all, the whole idea with them having a shop and stuff, and like even the two partners, the one that's still doing the missions, like when he says the whole like oh like he's a good pet, like that alone, I'm like damn,
Calls
like
him a pet. Yeah.
it really makes you think like oh, like this show is so like mind blowy that it's like what exactly is going on, like because we have this other character like his partner who's running the shop. Like I see him the way Sean sees him, where like I think he's a like nice character. Like he doesn't seem like a terrible person, you know. Like it seems like things are kind of being skewed in a certain way. And what I think is happening is like I think when they go into people's minds and stuff, specifically that character, wasn't there like a comment where like he didn't basically when they were like when they first got together, like they talked about how he doesn't have like valleys or like he doesn't have like peaks to hide his valley.
Okay, so I'm gonna do us all a big favor. Blonde character is Hiroki, and black-haired character is Tsukasa.
Mhm.
All right, so Hiroki, like like they talk about how he doesn't have
He
like
didn't have
y-
valleys.
so like
he
okay
had to and their peaks are so strong. The people who are able to like really mess with the minds, their peaks are so strong that that's what lets them do this.
Mhm.
So to control themselves, they have to take other valleys, like or
or like
borrow
create
ideas
or yeah.
from
So
other
like
people's valleys they see and
exactly,
surround
exactly.
it to control themselves. And Hiroki seems to be the Tsukasa seems to have been like the mentor for Hiroki. Is how they kind of set it up this episode. That's what
Yeah.
I gauged from it.
That's what basically what I was trying to say. A little hard, but I think that whole idea and seeing it actually in place where they basically like they were good friends before, but it's very clear like the image that the first character that we saw, the light skinned character, like his whole thing with having a shop with his friend and you know like that is having an impact on Hiroki. So I'm very interested to see like what other ideas or like what exactly are Hiroki's feelings are his compared to like you know what they could have like basically all the binds they could have went through and like all the ideas or whatever he could have taken from other people, you know, or like if ideas were implanted into him, let's say, because like I think the wording on like the his partner, Hiroki's partner, like the wording on him being a pet is like very like dark, you know, like at first I was like, oh, they're just friends, but like he's just like you know he's a valuable pet, like that's very different, and it seems like you know Hiroki might just
I
not necessarily.
I also want to throw this out. Subtle imagery in my mind. Hiroki's like image he uses is a goldfish, and Tsukasa's is water, and a fish needs water to live. I just saying.
I think that was also because they were in a watery area at that time. Or did he do it again?
They consistently use those images.
Yeah, yeah, those are their go-to images.
Okay. Maybe it was just convenient for the first time then.
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Yeah,
it's just like basically that was just my idea like of like looking at the show and I like that's what's making me like really interested in it and like you know just what's fueling my thoughts for the show, I guess you could say.
Dylan.
This is the show. This show really. I'm agreeing with you. This is the worst show of the week. And right now it's the worst show in my opinion. It just what you talked last week about. We were hoping that there would be something redeeming with these characters that we can relate to, that we can like, something that we can like literally like somehow find a reason to like want to follow them. And I feel like it. If anything, this episode makes it less of that. I really don't. The only person I sympathize with in the slightest is Satoru, the dude from the very first scene. And they go in, and that's just because I feel bad for him. Because like at this point, like, what did he get himself into? You know what I mean? Like, if anything, his story's the saddest of everyone's here. Because what the fuck is this, dude? Like, I don't know. I don't understand the scenario that they're in. I don't understand like that they're working for the company. Like, that's all they tell us. Like, what are they doing for the company? You know what I mean? Like, why are they doing this? What is the company's goal? I don't know. I just feel like they're doing things without explaining like why they're doing it. They're just fucking with people to fuck with people. They don't even say what they're getting when they dive down in the ground. Like, what are they getting that's in like little USB drives? I don't understand, man. It just doesn't make sense. And the fact that the show is named off of like a sub-dom relationship between two of the main characters, I don't really want to watch it. It's not interesting. It's not, and if anything, it's like it's just awkward, and I feel like it's just gonna devolve further. That's all I got.
Other thoughts?
I think the show is interesting. I don't know how else to put it. I this show just is trying to do too much, and it doesn't have enough time to explain anything. So it's like, let's just show you all this crazy bullshit, and we'll eventually explain it.
Maybe.
Yeah, eventually, maybe. Or they're just not going to. You're just going to sit there confused if you didn't understand it. Or somehow like theorize your own connections between the things, which is kind of, I don't know. I don't think the show's bad. In my opinion, I don't think any of the shows this season have been particularly bad except for Plunder. So
Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely gonna be one that's like in worse quality
Things
compared to
have
the
to go.
rest.
yeah,
It's kind of
it's not like it's bad. It's just the
You
not
gotta,
good.
yeah,
My
you gotta
brain
make
just
the cut
doesn't know what the
somewhere.
fuck it's like. We had our roommate watching it, and he was like, "I don't know what's happening," and I
just
literally
came in halfway
and I
through
quote,
into episode 3,
I then quoted saying, "Neither do we."
Mm.
Nathan, Alex, you guys.
I mean, I hated this from the beginning. Like, also, I'm reading through my notes. That mother looked like the clown from It. Just a
Okay.
little bit. I don't know. I feel like we got a lot of like useless garbage. Like there's a lot of things that could be explained and a lot of useless shit that we're getting that like we don't need.
I think this show's biggest problem is that we're getting like there's clearly something going on with the characters we have, but they're wrapping those mysteries behind the minds they go into each episodes, which don't connect. So like on an like separating like the two things, the characters whose minds we go into can be interesting and captivating if we get more time with them, but we don't. And the characters we have for the main characters could be interesting if we get more time with them, but we don't. So both suffer, and when you combine the two, they hinder each other more. Because I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
they're going into the mind of this child who very clearly has a very complex family dynamic and very clearly abuse there has its own perks to talk about in a show like
Mhm.
this, but not
Mhm.
if you're surrounding it in other problems as well that we don't have answers to. I think there are lots of good things about this show. They just can't be appreciated in full due to the format that it's presenting it in.
Mhm.
I don't know. This show just seems bad. Like I know there's like no basis for me to say that, but like I just don't like the show. I haven't liked this show, and it's like I don't know, not great.
Alex?
It it's like I feel about this show the way I feel about Orphan, which is just like I don't really care. Like if I didn't watch it, like if we weren't watching it, I wouldn't watch it. I don't really like the premise. I don't find any of the characters endearing. Like even to Dorohedoro's credit, it has a singular character I actually like enjoy. I just don't kind of like anything about this show. I don't really hate anything about this show either. It's just kind of not for me, and I wouldn't watch it unless I had to.
Which is literally this.
Well, no, the only reason that I haven't
That's a fair critique.
voted Pet off before now is because like there are so many other shows I hate more, and I might actually not even slay it. I might not slay Orphan Pet this time around either, just because there are still other shows I hate more.
You're only going to slay Dorohedoro all the whole time.
There's
Are
some
we
shows you
ready?
hate more, Bear.
Are we good to move on?
Yeah, I think we're alright.
Elvis, talk to us about Science Fell in Love.
Bear.
I think this week was it was all right. I don't think it was the worst or the no. I don't think it was the worst. I don't know. I wouldn't say best or anything. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. That's all.
Alex, please. I want to hear this.
I I just don't have the energy to rail against this show any. Like it's not funny. The bear joke still is not funny. It still does not translate. The premise is still not interesting. The characters are all still obnoxious. It kind of feels like somebody from r/I am very smart wrote every single line of dialogue that I have to listen to in this god awful show. There's just nothing redeeming about it. I sit on my couch and I turn to a raisin from the sheer amount of secondhand cringe that I have to listen to in this show. Stop making me watch it. Free!
I'm so glad you used my raisin line. No one
Oh
ever
my
laughs at
god,
that.
dude.
But as soon as someone else uses it, all right.
Adding to his I am very smart thing, everything that isn't explained like r/I am very smart is r/explain like I'm 5. So
Michael, please tell us more about how you feel about that. About
I don't know.
science.
I think this episode is probably the best this show has had. Still not the I don't know. I last week I was like, yeah, this show's fine. Then thinking back on everything, I was like, this show, the only reason I enjoy this show is because every character that isn't the main two. I think the brown-haired character is by far the best character of this show. She is the only reason the show is anyway enjoyable. The blonde-haired dude is just makes the same fucking joke every time. And it's just a haha, I'm a weeb. Haha, dabs. And the purple-haired girl goes, haha, I'm a dom for this weeb. Haha, dabs. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
gonna say you're wrong.
You could
So
paraphrase.
I don't. So basically, the show has one good character, and it's the brown-haired one.
The chick or the
Yeah,
dude?
the chick.
The chick.
Oh, her name is
I don't
is it
remember any fuck-
Konade?
something like that. So blonde-haired dude's a weeb, and purple-haired girl is a dom for said weeb, and that's their character traits. And it was funny the first time they made a joke about him, and then they made the same joke about him being a weeb about 7 times, and it's just kind of boring at this point.
Yeah,
Like
that's some
Sam.
simp shit.
I thought episode 4 of Science was the best episode of Science. Not saying it's a good show in its entirety. I definitely thought it was an improvement, but I mean, it's because they were building up to the idea of the date, right? And then the date happened. So I mean, it was an actual episode of like not planning, like them actually doing. That being said, like yeah, like I mean, it's kind of like the same gimmick of Eizouken a little bit, in that like that what the show's premise is on really. Like Eizouken's like about making anime. This show's about trying to prove love exists, right? And my problem with this show that unlike Eizouken is that this show like they're not really like proving it in an interesting way. I feel like it's just like, oh, your heart rate increased. Number of times I felt this. Number of times I felt like an actual like scientific measurement. Like that doesn't fucking make any sense. But I mean, then again, you're trying to prove love exists, so it's hard, right? I don't know. I do agree. I wish it wasn't as cringy, but I think it was better this time than the other episodes. I definitely think this was the best episode of Science, but obviously it's not the strongest anime.
I agree with that consensus this week. And the way that Eizouken's not your show, Elvis. This is not my show. Like I laugh at some of the jokes because I do think some of them were funny this episode. I just don't really care to see where this show goes. Any other thoughts?
I wish that they went a little more in depth on like Konade. I feel like she's the most interesting character of this. My opinion. Like I don't really care about the two people like trying to prove them love. I wish it was some kind of like side plot.
I think there's gonna be. I just think like
Yeah.
I don't care to wait for it to kick in when it does.
That's fair.
Because I feel like this is a show where, like, it eventually, I hope, has to. I don't know how you do this show with only with it focusing on only the two characters.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like maybe 4 episodes is my limit on that. Like, if they do
I
it
don't-
again, it's gone.
Well, in stark contrast, this show
Fair.
kind of sold it to me. A lot of the humor and stuff on their date and stuff was funny. I enjoyed it. You know, I like your main pair. I don't like the sub-dom relationship of Purple and Otaku. It seems like those are they're literally only two end defining character traits, Purple and Otaku. You know, the main two characters are good. It is cringy as fuck. I like Alex has said that he stole from me. I turn into a raisin every time I watch this show. I like literally the amount of times I almost said something to my computer screen was a lot. The show, I don't know. The date was good. I mean, he blew it in the beginning, but amusement park it was fine. The whack-a-mole scene was really funny, where she hits him in the face. That got a
I
chuckle
forgot that happened.
out of me.
That is honestly a good scene. Probably the best one of this episode.
Yeah, I don't laugh very much, especially when watching anime, at least audibly. But that one actually made me laugh. And then when they both roast the shit out of the guy who was like cheating on I literally at one point I wrote, I'm more interested in the guy cheating than this couple, when they were at the lunch or whatever. And then like we transition to that side character, like the little bit where he's like with the girl and the other girl walks in and she's like, who is this? I literally wrote I was more interested than that than the main duo. The fact that not only does Blue roast the crap out of him, the other guy does too. All while using data. That shit was funny.
Are we good to move on?
Dylan,
Mike?
I won't vote off Dorohedoro if you agree to vote this off for me.
I am not. No, that's stupid.
Michael.
Also, the best show isn't getting voted off. Just saying. Go ahead, continue.
Michael, would you like to lead us into what I hope is not going to be a very long discussion, but a discussion on Somali?
So sure. Somali and the Forest Spirit, good show. I don't know what else to say. Somali is a fantastic character. Golem Dad is really good. It showed a lot of things this episode with his whole him being very scared about the outside world and letting Somali walk into it, which are all basically confirmed fucking instantly when she goes down into Scary Place. I don't know. I just thought this episode was really good. And I also do really like the side characters introduced in this one with the whole deer family, whatever the fuck animal they were. They were just a really good group of characters. Yeah.
I like
I
this
like-
episode
go
a
ahead.
lot. The environment they go down into at the end half of the episode is really cool.
Mhm.
I enjoy everything we see in there. Like every new thing they show me has my attention. The exploration of how Somali feels about Golem Dad is very, very good to see. Considering last episode we got a lot of insight into Golem Dad, about like how he feels about Somali. The fact that she's never considered that they're on a journey that's going to end is very important for her to start thinking about, and I'm glad they're bringing it up now. I really enjoy the fact that she sees everything going on as him wanting to end this journey soon, for like faster for some odd reason, and she hates that. Whereas we know from Golem Dad's perspective, he wants the money so that he can get the things to protect her, and he wants to end this quickly because if he doesn't, she's going to be alone. So it's a very nice dynamic I really like, and I'm not excited for when this show destroys me in like 7 episodes.
Yeah, I read that too.
It's
The show is
definitely
absolutely going to destroy me.
I think it's definitely a very good setup to like and play on your emotions to just completely obliterate you later. Like it's gonna come, and it's just like you're letting yourself get carried away too, because you're just like, oh, like everything's going so well, like and then little by little they just start throwing in things, and you're just like,
I-
so,
I mean, I love the pacing of this show. It's so good. Like they don't drag parts of the show out. They don't rush parts of the show. Like it always feels like they always put enough time in each like scene and each like idea that they're talking about. And I really like how there's like even like the smallest little things. Like I like how there's actually like a direction. Like I know what's gonna happen after because in the when he was waitering at was that like an inn or was that just a
Tavern,
restaurant?
bar,
Was it a
whatever.
tavern? Yeah. Those people talked about someone knowing something about like actually where they could go
Desert.
next. You know what I mean?
He's
The
getting
desert. Like
supplies.
they can go somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not just them aimlessly wandering. While I like them like wandering around checking all the cool scenes, the cool stuff, I was just like, if they're just gonna aimlessly wander, like there's really no point. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? I like how now there's actual direction, and while they can still show us these cool like new visuals and stuff, it actually has like a purpose now. Whereas before it was kind of just like it wasn't as focused on the mission; it was more focused on like fleshing out the characters. Now we have the mission, right? Does that make sense?
I agree.
Yeah,
I like the episode. I like the
I
episode
love
a
this
lot.
show.
I love Wolf Dude. Wolf
Dude.
Dude's lit.
Yo, I don't know what's going
I
on with his
wrote-
eyes, but I like him.
Wolf Dude's lit.
Yo, he's hunting that thing down there. Maybe, whatever it is.
I
think he's down. I think he's tracking that thing. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
the
way he
mushroom.
worded- Yeah,
Yeah.
the way he worded it, he's like,
yeah.
that's what. It
Wait,
seems
wait.
to me.
Okay, I thought it was
right.
referenced towards Somali. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe.
Because of the scene earlier.
I
That's
think
the
I
idea that
think
we
it's a
don't
decoy.
know.
I
Because
think
it cuts it before we find out.
I think it's.
Oh,
meant to
okay.
be
I mean,
that.
I thought it was obvious for that, but like I could see now that it might be that.
I think it's supposed to
it
be
could
like.
be both, honestly.
I think it's supposed to be a swerve where it's like you think he's there for her, but then
Okay.
like, he's not.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a decoy to make you suspect this character
Yeah.
more.
It's because they cut it off before he actually does anything.
I'm
Is
biased.
how they're doing it.
I'm biased. It's a wolf. I have to think the character's gonna be good and and not.
Because I mean, he was
kill.
snooping on them earlier. I don't know. I think he thinks something's up with her. I don't know. That's. I mean, yeah, you might be right. You might be right. I might be getting bamboozled.
Yeah. Also, I would say that this show definitely has my favorite music of this entire season.
It's so good. It's up there with. It's better than it, but it's also really good with its music. I like both
it's
of them a
different
lot.
types of music.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. Pet's opener is pretty fire.
It's really what's
I will
keeping
say,
it alive for me.
the second half of Pet's opening is pretty good.
Not
the
not
first
on
half-
topic though.
not topic.
Not on topic. Alex, any other thoughts on Somali?
No,
Okay. Are you in? Are you in? I love it boat, or is it like not that strong for you?
no, I think it's really good.
Okay.
The wholesome Somali camp. Love the show.
Yeah, come to Somalia.
This might end up being one of my favorite shows. And
It's
it's gonna
up
be
there for
really
me.
hard when we have to pick our top 3 or however many we do.
Yeah.
Am I good to move us to the last show of the night?
And you get to start it off.
I do. So, Sorcerer, Stabber, Orphan this week. I talked a lot last week about how what I wanted was for there to be a firmly established plot goal with whether or not we were going to have him be chasing the dragon or whether or not he was going to be like defending the dragon. I didn't think we'd see the dragon die this episode. And then Orphan decided that it didn't care about my opinions and it just wanted to curveball me. This I can understand an argument that this definitely feels this could feel rushed and like this could have used another episode or two to flush out this result if this is what we were getting. I personally like the twist of not knowing this was coming. And while it really threw me for a loop, and I wasn't expecting Azalea to have switched places with Childman, nor was I expecting Childman to be a character that was just going to die this early in the show. I'm now instead have my mindset on this show of I'm curious to see where it goes. This episode makes me want to watch the next one because if this is an arc and we're done, I want to know where we're going. And if they can set up the next arc very well next episode and hook me again, that's all I need from this show for me to like it. I'm glad we Nathan, you mentioned last week that you felt Orphan was a very cut and dry character and not very engaging. I think this week shows very well that he's a character who can change his point of view and adapt to a scenario, and that he wasn't just blinded by his respect and potential love for Azalea, that he was able to still carry out the fight with her. And like
Yeah.
whether or not I think that fight is a good fight, I like the presentation of it, of them standing with two different swords against each other. Like I enjoyed this episode for how shocking it was for me for the things that occurred. It also makes me think that this is one of those shows that if we're going to keep watching, I don't know who I can trust to stay alive anymore because we've lost two central characters and I'm not sure what Azalea's role is anymore.
Two central characters. Which characters died?
We lost Childman and we lost
Childman and who?
Comacron or whatever. Yeah.
The man who
Oh,
walked-
the most important
the man
character.
who walked up and went, "Don't worry, I'm a very powerful healer." And I went, he's going to die.
yeah, he signed his own death certificate with that line.
Also, the redhead we have, the other guy, Hartia.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hartia.
His shadow bullshit he does is really cool. I really like
Mhm.
that part of the episode and the fight.
Fucking Doctor Strange.
I
Or
thought this
Chill out, Doctor
episode
Strange,
was
in my,
insane. I would actually argue that whereas you said that like they didn't really like hint too much, I thought they did. I just thought they did it in a way that we didn't see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
personality
of
thing
course.
Threw me completely off, but it made sense, especially during the fight, like because only Asley knew that chaos magic spell, and I was even talking to Nathan the entire time. I was like, if they know the dragon can do white sorcery, why didn't it do it?
You do it, yeah.
Why didn't it do it ever? You know what I mean?
Sorry, I
Right?
don't want to interrupt. I also just
Yeah.
remembered the line of the setup for this episode that was, "You couldn't have killed me, because I swallowed the ring."
Yeah.
Which
Oh yeah.
I was silly, but like also like I'm glad that came back around. Like they do definitely set things up. I just wasn't ready because I didn't expect this. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I really liked it. It surprised the shit out of me, and it all made sense in the end. And like the fact that they're not afraid to kill off like supporting and like characters that are not just like NPCs, literally. Like I'm excited to see where this show goes because they're just gonna kill people off. Like I'm actually like afraid for some of the characters. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually like it's not like like obviously the main character's probably gonna fucking live. I mean if they kill him off, like fuck, like I don't even know at that point. This show's insane.
They're gonna do an Attack on Titan. He's gonna come back as a dragon 2 episodes later.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that they're not scared to just bop people off like that, like holy, they are going all out. I like it. I like it a lot.
His name, I am now going to refer to him instead of Kirilanchulo, Keyhole Cilantro is his new name.
Okay.
Right.
Weird thought.
Other thoughts about the show?
I think it was very clear how crazy that twist was with us since we were all watching it together. Me,
Yeah.
Sean, Michael,
And Alex.
and Alex.
By the way,
Where
by the way,
literally was just silent for the last since that happened till the end of the episode. Everyone's just sitting there really thinking to themselves holy wait,
also Dylan,
literally not a word was said.
my favorite part of the night was before this episode started, we had watched a couple of things already, and Alex uttered the phrase, "Nothing's really done anything to like shake the ground this week."
Yeah,
I don't-
I definitely think Orphan was like, this is a nutty fucking up. It bumped it up 2 on my list. I actually put it in the top 3. Damn. Yeah, it completely blew my fucking mind. I was pretty dope.
And, like literally when we were watching it and that happened, my mouth was like open for the rest of the episode. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit! Like they really just went off. Like,
I
it
was
was-
Yeah.
engaged with the episode this week.
Yeah.
That's something that I love when a show does, where I'm like, yeah, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as opposed to me just sitting there going, okay, and just absorbing what's there. Like when I'm actually
Yeah.
with it, like this and id and Somali, like those shows all do that to me, where I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go, keep it coming,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it well. Last
like
show
I
up for
mean, like I
discussion.
said earlier, this show is kind of just mediocre for me. I don't think it did anything interesting.
I c-
I know.
blows my
I said earlier, I don't think any shows did anything interesting, and everyone's like, "Oh, wait for this show." I don't think this show did anything interesting because everything it did, like it didn't challenge any of the base assumptions, and it didn't challenge the base formula. The only
Good.
What-
Good. No, just go ahead. Keep going. I'm just thinking.
the biggest thing it did right was kill the character, but I don't understand how that's like a shock because there were like 2 outcomes, and that was one of them. Like
Well, see, I'm not sure if
they're
Azali's
they're hunting
dead.
well, yeah, but like they're hunting the dragon. He either succeeds and saves her, or he fails and she dies. Like
And that's
that
the
that
thing that throws it off for me is like, sorry, I
okay,
don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt you.
yeah,
It's
she
not
dies
her
or
though.
yeah,
It's
dies,
Chiron, which is
quote
a big
unquote.
difference.
And she did let body swap, but then she just goes away after this episode.
But we don't
And
we don't
hopefully
know.
they do something with it, because if the first 4 episodes or whatever were all setting up this character and then she just GTFOs,
I
I
can't
just
see
don't
it
care.
doing that, but I would also knock it if it did. Like if we just never see her again, I think that would be a problem.
I don't think they can do that, but like
Because the implication we get at
I
the end of the episode is that he does something to her with the sword. Whether it's turn her back to her original body, I'm not sure. I think that's what it is.
I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see where she goes, because everyone, like, the interesting thing is the only person who would understand the situation now is Hartia. He's the only one there who saw
Mhm.
it. Like, so otherwise, like, she could potentially get away with some things and still work at the Tower of Fangs, but, like, Hartia is the one who knows what happened and saw the dragon die. Like, this is gonna be very hard to explain and work around, so I'm curious to see what happened, and I think it, to me, it subverted the things I expected.
I don't want to drag this on too much, but like Alex, like you actually like weren't surprised by that ending at all, or like you just didn't like it.
well, like the only part of that ending that was a curveball was like the body swap, and I just didn't like.
just didn't have an
Yeah, like
effect.
the guy was dead, and he like we know about this character because in the past he was the one that saw her like transform, and he was the first one that fought her, and then she like put him in the hospital or whatever for some period of time. But like I don't care who he is, and I don't care what he does, and like his main role in the story from my point of view is like as an expositional tool. So he's dead, don't care. She's dead. I mean, like she was the kind of the central plot device up until now, but I don't really have any specific feelings for her either. Like, I mean, they could have killed the main character and every character we met till now, and I would just kind of shrug my shoulders because I don't really care. Like,
Uh,
I don't like the formula. I don't find the characters engaging, and
That's
the
fair.
only part of the story that got me was just like the weird like we body swapped, and that kind of feels like a gotcha thing. I
I
just
don't think it
think it's
was
a
though. If you go back and look at the actual episode, like there were hints towards it. It wasn't got you at all. Like yeah, the idea that they could actually do that was like wow, okay, I didn't know you could do that. But like if you look
that's
back
what
at
I
it,
mean when I say gotcha. I mean like they did it, and because it's like a science like a
but
magic world, we have to operate under the assumption that something like that could happen. But
well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like they don't really explain limitations of the sorcery itself. That's kind of the point, right?
Yeah, we
What do you
are
mean the
like
point?
with white magic. We understand that it sounds powerful and almost limitless. Like they say can control time and mess with like the fabric
Yeah.
of reality or some shit. So it's supposed to be powerful. And for me, like the idea of like, well, Child Man's gone and that's great. And like, what's the impact? Like to me, he's the teacher of all these very powerful sorcerers, like the most powerful sorcerers, and he's the only person who's supposed to be able to match up to Azalea, and he doesn't. And then we have the end encounter where our protagonist outsmarts Azalea for the sword fight and manages to either return her back to her body or whatever the outcome is there. I am interested because I think it pushes Orphan and Azalea and kind of the rest of the cast as no longer having to be slotted under Child Man on a power scale. There is now an opening that all these characters can and might actually be stronger than him.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I-
I think there was potential for a very interesting character dynamic between Orphan and Child Man, and the fact that that's just gone is shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I couldn't care. I couldn't give two shits about these characters. I literally
Well-
wrote my notes in the middle of the episode. I literally could not care less about these characters. Rip Comic Con, which was however you
Like
say his name. I called him Comic Con.
to make an analogy of like a story, I think took on a similar idea in like killing whatever his name was. I don't care. Like to approach a similar premise, and it's not exactly comparable because of the medium, but like the death of Dumbledore versus the death of
Well,
Comic
spoilers,
Con.
bruh.
Yeah, sorry about that. The
Listen,
death
if you
of
haven't watched it, then
Kamika or
yeah.
whatever his name is, like there's personal there's characterization of Dumbledore. Like we understand like his power because we see him do power, whereas versus this other guy we just like hear he's powerful, but all we ever do is see him fail. Like I understand like his function in the story, but I'm saying like his function is poorly done. It's not very well it's not explained, but it's not demonstrated to us. We're supposed to kind of take him at face value. And like I get what the point of him is. I just don't think they did it well.
And that's why I prefaced my whole discussion of I think this arc as an arc could have like it probably would have benefited from an episode 2 to flesh things out more. I don't know how the anime production's going with it. Like I said, I'm fine with it because I'm enjoying what it's doing. And we know I'm gonna enjoy what it's doing until it stops being, in my mind, a fantasy I enjoy. Any other thoughts on Orphan, Mike?
This was by far the best episode of this show, and if we only had the first two, I didn't think the show was that great. I don't know. I enjoyed this entire whole. It was weird because like I enjoy the fact that they had this whole thing where the switching bodies thing, but that also made it so at this point we now don't have a plot. It's just kind of a bunch of characters existing, and he has a sword. What the fuck is he gonna do now? If the show ended right here, I'd be good. If we had somehow turned those first 3 into 12 episodes, but found a way to pace it in a way that worked, that'd be really cool. But now we have 3 episodes and nowhere to go.
If I'll admit I might just be putting too much hope into the show if they don't go into depth of like him not being affected by his friends all dying and his teacher dying. Like if they just completely ignore that and he just goes back to trying to be this hard person with like no personality, then yeah, I'll admit the show's pretty trash. But I feel like, and just from the way they were portraying it, I feel like by the way he's really not accepting Azalee's like plan or whatever and realizing that she's not all that great. I feel like this next episode's gonna be good. Like I have a strong inclination.
This
But I
show's
mean, if you don't,
treading water for me, but I'm like in the same boat where like I this is a show that I'm willing and hoping picks up and does something great with what it has. And if it doesn't, I'm willing to slap. I think I'm the person very willing to slap his own shows down if they don't do what he wants them to. If they don't do what I want them to do, because
I mean, my shows are the best. So
Incorrect.
I am ready to submit vote.
Mhm.
So we can mark whether you are saving or slaying a show, and then we will handle this out. I'm submitting mine now.
I think I submitted, but let me know if it
You
didn't.
gotta be gotta do the double submit.
Don't forget you click the
Double,
bottom.
the double
the top.
submit input.
Oh yeah,
Should
that's why I
say-
didn't do it.
Your screen should
Mhm.
say your response has been recorded.
Yeah, I forgot to do the top one. My bad.
So Darwin's games all saves around. Dorohedoro has 1 slay. Eizouken
I wonder
has
who did that.
1 slay.
Wonder who did that one.
Defense build all saves. Id all saves. Inspector all saves. Pet unanimously has 6 slays.
Yikes.
Ooh.
Science has 4 slays, to put that into perspective. Somali is
rid of
all
him,
saves,
no?
and Orphan has 2 slays. So Pet is gone this week with a full. Is this the first ever unanimous slay out of every time
I
we've
think
done
so,
this?
yeah.
Pet is officially slayed this week.
Next week is science. It's happening, boys.
Please,
I
God.
keep kicking off my bottom tiers. Let's go. 2 for 2.
Dylan has made his declaration.
For me, it's been my second to worst.
I'm
every
Babe
single
Ruthing
both
right now. I'm
weeks.
Babe Ruthing. It's science is next.
Okay, so that'll be it for tonight. Good stuff, guys.
Ye-
Woo!